Season 1 of this podcast is sponsored by Muslim Marriage Services, also known as MMS. If you are looking for marriage, then join MMS, your trusted platform for finding a life partner within the Muslim community. Alhamdulillah wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah amma ba'd. Bismillah. In today's show we have Sister Mariam with us. Big assalamu alaikum to Sister Mariam.
Walaikum assalam.
Welcome to the show. Give us a bit of an introduction about yourself. Anything that you want to say at the start of the show.
Age 38, female, currently working, based in London.
I don't know if you know this, but the most stressful and emotional time that any human can go through during their lifetime is when they have to deal with death. In other words, when they lose a loved one. The second most stressful and emotional time that any human can go through during their lifetime is actually getting divorced. Now you, Sister Mariam, unfortunately, you've experienced both death and divorce, and for you, they're both connected. I want you to tell us your story.
Sure. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. So, I got married in my early 20s, and it was actually a love marriage. So I actually knew him, so we got to know each other for 3 to 4 years prior to marriage. And in terms of living arrangements, we didn't really discuss it, but it was quite expected of me to live with my in-laws, him being the eldest son. So when we got married, I moved in with him and his family quite quickly. In terms of my in-laws, when they first came to see me, because in our culture, we basically, the groom side visits the bride side and the bride side visits the groom side.
Yeah.
So when they first came to see me, it was quite obvious that my in-laws weren't happy with me. In my culture, they consider the fairer you are, the more beautiful you are. And I'm quite world-travelled, so obviously I've tanned, so you could just tell that they weren't happy. And the first thing that they kind of picked up on is when I was 14, I actually burnt my hand. So when they saw my hand, they assumed I was disabled when I'm not. So I just got the vibe straight away that, okay, they don't like me. But my husband-to-be then, he's like, no, don't worry, they do like you, you're reading into it too much, etc. So when I got married, straight away, that's when my life kind of came to a halt, in terms that my mother-in-law said to me straight away, you're the eldest daughter-in-law, there's expectations of you, you need to give up your job and you need to take control of the household chores, cooking, grocerying, etc. And things like me being able to work after marriage was actually discussed. So initially said, yeah, no problem, we don't care as long as Mariam and husband are happy, we're fine, etc. So I went into shock when they said, right, it's like the moment the nikah was done and I'm in their house now, it's their way or the highway kind of thing. So this is when the friction started. So I obviously went to speak to my husband, and then he went, no, that's ridiculous. I want you to carry on working, etc. This is where the dynamics started to get even worse, in terms of my mother-in-law felt my husband, I don't want to use, she felt that he was underneath my thumb.
Okay, wait. Let me ask you to take a break there, right? What was it about your ex-partner that made you think, yes, I'm going to marry him?
Being honest with you, Mohammed, back then, I come from a very strict Asian household. So my parents kind of laid down the criteria, like he needs to be this family or this caste or this background, etc. And he ticked all the boxes. And we got on, like I said, we got on for 3 years. We got on. There was lots of laughter, jokes, memories, etc. So I just knew that we connected. I knew that he was my best friend, if that makes sense. So that's what gave me the encouragement that, yeah, this person's the one.
Okay. So you talked about your mother-in-law had the impression that your ex-partner, well, at the time when you were married, you had him under your thumb, whatever that means.
So just to elaborate on that, so anything that used to happen, I used to obviously reach out to him. He's the only person that I know. You need to understand that I've gone into a family who I've never met before. We're obviously I'm British, but it's not a case of you get to know your in-laws. When you're meeting up for Christmas or holidays, it's not like that. These guys were complete strangers, and I just moved in with them. And my mother-in-law saw it as, I don't know. I think she's very traditional minded. She was like, there's a hierarchy in the household. She's at the top of the chain, and I need to listen to her. And the fact that I keep running to my husband, she felt disrespected. So, and whenever my husband used to stick up for me in the initial stages of marriage, that's when she felt, you're always listening to her. I'm your mother. You need to listen to me. And words were used such as, I'm your mother and heaven lies under the mother's feet. You need to listen to me. That was a dynamic.
Were you wanting things or asking for things that your mother-in-law didn't want?
All I wanted to do was work. To give you some context, I come from a very small family. So it was just me, my sibling and my parents. And then I went into a household, including me, there were 14 people living in the house. And you know what, Mohammed, I didn't mind. I come from a small family, so I kind of thought, oh, this is a good change. So all I really wanted to do was carry on working, and I wanted to manage household chores as well as being married, as in working. That's all I wanted. But in her head, she just felt that's impossible. You can't maintain a career and then maintain cooking, cleaning, etc. as well. But I made it work. I just took the task on myself.
What was the reason that the marriage didn't work out?
So there's obviously a combination of factors. So the first is in-laws pressurizing me to do things their way, or to have, to live a certain way. And you rightly mentioned to become a housewife, which I kind of rebelled against. And I think they saw it as, okay, she's not listening to us. She hasn't resigned and I'm carrying on working. So, the next issue came up was, they wanted my salary to be transferred into their account. And obviously I said no.
Whoa. Stop there. Who wanted your salary to be transferred into whose account?
My mother-in-law wanted my salary to be transferred into her account. And when I asked why, she just said, your income, everyone's entitled to your income. And I went, what do you mean? She just said, yeah, there's 13 of us in the house, and, you need to pay your way. It wasn't rent. It wasn't get the groceries. It was full salary into my account, and I will give you an allowance in terms of how much you can spend on travel and food.
Wow. Did you listen to the instructions of transferring?
No. And obviously, more and more, I was considered as the daughter-in-law that rebels. So, and then what I did was me and my ex-husband, we bought our first property together. And initially we wanted to move out. But being honest with you, I think what happened was, because I was going through such a tough time with my in-laws, so I was working. So I used to wake up around 4 o'clock in the morning. I used to put the laundry on. I used to make everybody's breakfast. I used to then go upstairs, get changed, get ready to go to work. I'll go to work, do my 9 to 5, come home, be home by 6, and I'll be cooking, I'll be cleaning, and then I'll repeat. So what was happening is I was losing a lot of weight. It was actually affecting my health, and I couldn't see it because I was so adamant that I want to keep myself happy and as well as them happy. And in the background, my ex-husband was applying for a role in Dubai. I didn't know at the time. So he had a couple of friends in Dubai. So when he applied for a role, he got the role. But at the same time, he thought, if I didn't get the role, let's buy a property and we'll move out. So when he got the role, immediately we announced two things. We said, hey, we bought a property, but we're not going to move into it. We're going to rent it out. Before I could finish the sentence, or it was even me, before my husband could finish the sentence, my mother-in-law went, that rental income needs to come into my account. And then he went, no, because my wife Mariam has put money into this, so it's going to go into a joint account. And I think, when I look back, I think he knew what his mother was like, but he just thought maybe it was normal. I don't know. When you're in an environment and you don't know any better. He just thought it was normal. And when I came in and I'm like, this doesn't seem right, that's when he started to see things. And the second thing that he announced was, he went, by the way, me and Mariam, we're going to be traveling to Dubai and we're going to be relocating there. And immediately it was, she cannot go. She's the daughter-in-law. She needs to stay here. And that's when my ex-husband said, Mariam isn't a slave. She isn't your servant. She's my wife and she's going to follow me. And that's when the first batch of friction started, where she turned around and said, you won. You took my son away. You won. You're now running away to another country where you're unreachable, untouchable. You've won. So for my mother-in-law, it was like a game for her. It was a control game, and who can be in control of what, if that makes sense.
Season 1 of this podcast is sponsored by Muslim Marriage Services, also known as MMS. If you are looking for marriage, then join MMS, your trusted platform for finding a life partner within the Muslim community. What makes MMS unique? They are not just a matrimony platform. They are proud to be recognized as the world's only certified social enterprise Muslim matrimonial brand. This means that 50% of their profits are reinvested or donated to make a positive social impact. As you explore their features focused on digital security and compatibility, know that your journey with MMS contributes to something beyond matrimony. For further details, please visit www.muslimmarriage.global. I mean, the way this story is heading, it sounds as if your husband was on your side. What happens next?
So we go to Dubai. He's already working there, and I eventually got a job there. And then I found out that I was pregnant. So when we first found out, being honest with you, we were young. We were in our mid-20s. We were both very career-driven. We weren't ready for this child. And I think we did think about, being completely honest with you, we did think about terminating it. But it was, I kind of announced it to my mum, and then my mum went, oh my God, congratulations. Thank God, because your mother-in-law kept saying things like, I think there's something wrong with Mariam. Is Mariam infertile? How come she's not pregnant yet? So when I heard that, I went, oh. And then my mum kept saying to me, it's a blessing, and I obviously raised my concerns. I said to my mum, Mum, I've just got a job. I don't know if I'm ready for this. And she just went, everything's from Allah, carry on, you're going to be fine. So pregnancy was fine. Life in Dubai was amazing. It was just me and him. In terms of the dynamics, we both come from work. We'll both cook together. We'll both go out together. We'll do everything together. It was just pure marital bliss. Until during my 5-month scan, the doctor was scanning me, and he kept scanning, and then he kept shaking his head. And I asked him, what's wrong? And he went, where are you from? And I said, we're from the UK. And he went, I think you need to go back. And it was literally my 6th month in the UAE. And I went, what do you mean you think I need to go back? And that's when I remember I broke down. I knew something was wrong. And he went, this child is going to be born with half a heart. And in the UAE, we don't have medical facilities for children like this. We don't even have surgeons for children being born with half a heart. We've got good doctors. Well, most of them are expats, but they're not specialists. You're from the UK, I'd advise you to get a second opinion from Great Ormond Street Hospital. And you can imagine, Mohammed, I just thought I got away from everything, and then God is sending me back, or sending me such bad news where my life is completely turned upside down.
What do you decide? Do you go back to the UK, or do you stay in Dubai?
Well, the first thing that we did was we kind of announced it to both sides of family. So he announced it to his parents, I announced it to my parents. And for a second, we thought maybe the doctors have got it wrong. So, and what I did was I quickly spoke to my boss, and he spoke to his boss, and they just went, go to the UK for a week, take compassionate leave, get a second opinion, and then come back. And even our, people who've been in the UAE for such a long time, they kept saying, nah, doctors in the UAE get it wrong all the time. So we just thought, no, I'm okay. And I thought, let me just go back. It's like just visiting family, and I'll get my scan done in the UK, and maybe they've got it wrong. When I went to the UK and when I was scanned by the doctor at Great Ormond Street Hospital, and when he confirmed it, he immediately asked us if we were related. And I said, no, we're not related at all. And then he went, okay. Then he said, are there any genetic issues in both sides of the family? And I said, no. Then he confirmed that the baby was going to be a girl. He also confirmed that she was going to be born with a condition called hyperplastic right heart syndrome. So what that means is my daughter was going to be born with the heart and lung function, but not heart and body function. And he basically gave us 3 options. And this is where me and my ex-husband start to clash. And I'm going to be completely candid in this interview. I did make a mistake, but I felt that I did a U-turn. So this is what happened. So the doctor said, look, Mariam, you're 5 months pregnant. In the UK, the pregnancy termination is up to 12 weeks, but you're at 60 weeks. For for cases like this, the law allows us to terminate your pregnancy. So the first option is we'll stick a needle through you into the baby's heart, and then you will have to, basically it will be a stillbirth. So I went, okay. And then he basically painted the picture of, you guys are very, very young. You know, you've only been married for a couple of years. You'll have more children. This all bad dream will go away and you'll go back to your life in Dubai. I went, okay. The second option is, Mariam, you do nothing. You can either stay in the UK or go back to Dubai. You go through the full term of the pregnancy. You give birth. Your daughter will take a breath, and within a minute or two, she'll turn blue and she'll pass away. So I went, okay. And the third option is, they said, Mariam, based on the scans, if we were to operate on her, there's a 13% survival chance. And normally, you know, surgeons don't touch a case with such a low percentage. So we're just going to have to play it by ear. But usually children like these don't survive anyway after surgery. So I went, okay. And immediately, and this is where I'm being really candid, me and my husband, we made the decision of to terminate. We just thought, you know what, we're young. We you know, the way our mind frame was, we're only here for a week. Let's do what we need to do, go back and just go back to our life. When we went back home and we kind of announced our decision, this is when my in-laws turned on me and they said, you know, first of all, this child is a product of my sins. So they just immediately thought, because I'm such a bad person, my daughter was being punished. Secondly, they said Islamically it's not permissible. At the time, I didn't understand. I was just really adamant. And I went, okay. They were basically calling me things like I'm a murderer, etc. And my husband just looked at me and I was just so emotional. He just went, I think you should go upstairs and get some rest. You know, when you're 5 months pregnant and I just had so many emotions going through. So my mother-in-law eventually got through to my husband. And then when he came upstairs and he said, Mariam, you can't do this. You're not doing this. So I said, what do you mean? And he went, we're going to go through with the pregnancy. And this is when I turned around and said to him, you're under your mother's thumb. And then he just went, no, I'm not. You're wrong. And he explained Islamically, there's a rule has been breathed into this fetus. You know, you might just see it as, you know, because the baby hasn't kicked or you haven't felt anything. This is a human. This is a living being. Like this child has a soul. The way the marriage was started, it was me against my mother-in-law. I just went, oh, she's won. She, you know, you're listening to her. And he kept saying, no, I'm not. I'm just trying to do the right thing. And then I remember he broke down and he said, you're making me choose between me and my mother. And it's not about me choosing between me and my mother. This is me choosing you or my child. And I'm choosing my child for the sake of Allah. And I just went, well, you know what, tough. This is my body. And I did do this. I went, this is my body. I've made a decision. I'm not weak like you. So I'm gonna go through with it. And he said to me, the moment you walk out of this door, so I said, I'm going to my mum's. And he said, the moment you walk out this door, that's it between me and you. So I went, okay. I don't know, Mohammed. I just was so emotional. I don't know what happened to me. So I went, okay. And I just walked out. And then I went to my parents, and he messaged him and he said, I'm going back to Dubai. He went, I can't legally or Islamically divorce you because you're pregnant. The moment you give birth, I'm divorcing you. So he immediately flew out to Dubai. He went back to his job, and I take full responsibility. I kind of drove him away, and I made that mistake. I think when I look back, I did make that wrong decision. Great Ormond Street kept calling me, and they said, look, have you made a decision? Have you made a decision? And I said, yep, I'm going to go through with it. They're like, okay, so you and your husband need to come in on this day. And I went, he's not coming. It's just going to be me. And my consultant went, what's happened? And I went, oh, we just had a disagreement. And my consultant said, oh, we've seen this a lot. When sick children are conceived or when sick children are born, it takes a toll on someone's marriage. So he basically said, Mariam, this is normal. You just need to be strong. And because he wasn't Muslim and he was just thinking logically, he just went, you're doing the right thing. You're doing the right thing. You know, in the end, you're going to be saved. Your husband's going to be saved. Your husband's upset with you for now, but in the end, you're making the right decision. So he kept encouraging me. So when I went to the clinic, he was like, right, you know, I could see the needle. I could see everything. I signed all the consent paperwork. And he basically was scanning me to try and find the heart so he can stick the needle into her heart. And Mohammed, at that point, I felt the kick. All this time I was pregnant, I never felt any kicks. I was just growing, but there was no attachment, if that makes sense. And she was kicking so much that, you know, you could see the kick. I could see the shape of her foot in my stomach. And then I went, what's going on? And then he went, your daughter's kicking. And his exact words were, I don't think she wants to go. I think she wants to stay because she's kicking and she's moving around so much. She's not staying still that I can't stick a needle in you today to terminate this pregnancy. And at that point, I came to a realization that I can't go through with this. And I realized I had life in me. So I obviously immediately broke down and I said, stop. I want you to rip up those consent papers. I'm not coming back. I'm going to go through with the pregnancy. So my consultant double checked me. Are you sure? I went, yeah. He went, I think you need to call your husband then. So when I called my husband, I said, hey, look, I made a mistake. I'm really, really sorry. I wasn't thinking straight. My emotions were high. I'm really sorry for what I said. And I said to him, I didn't go through with the termination. And then he said, too late, tough, damage has been done. So I said, okay, so what does that mean? And he went, well, I can't divorce you because you're pregnant. So you're going to go through with the pregnancy and you're going to be a single mum. Don't expect me or any support from my family. You're on your own. So I went, okay, fine. So I came to terms with it and I went, okay, fine. So I carried on with the rest of the pregnancy on my own at my parents'. And then when it came to the day she was born, I just did the right thing and I just called him. And I said, look, my waters are broken. I think she's coming. I'm just letting you know. He didn't say, okay, thanks, nothing. He just literally disconnected the call. And I didn't know at the time. He got on an emergency flight back to London. So, and with my daughter's birth, it had to be very, very controlled in terms of the moment she's out, she needs to go for operation because she's going to pass away. So I was in hospital and next thing you know, he walks in through the door and then my daughter's born. Next thing you know, he takes away my daughter into surgery and I'm recovering. So I was really shocked. I was like, I thought my marriage was over. I thought he's not going to be part of our lives, but he's here. So deep down in my heart, I thought maybe he's had a change of heart. Maybe it's okay. And it was only when he basically was saying things like, I'm going to sign all the consent paperwork. Mariam is nothing. I'm the legal guardian of this child. And that's when the doctors gave him some home truths and they said, sorry, mate, only the mother is seen as a legal guardian in this case. So we need the mother's consent. So when I woke up after recovery, the doctors explained, look, your husband's been playing up and your husband's been saying things like, he doesn't want you to see your child, etc. So we've explained that he can't talk like that or behave like that. But anyway, you need to get up and you need to sign some legal paperwork because we performed surgery on her. So I went, okay, how is she? And that's when they said, unfortunately, Mariam, we need to give you some bad news. When she was in your stomach, we said there's a 13% survival chance. But when she came out and we scanned her, when you're trying to look at her heart while she's in my stomach, there's so many layers. But when she came out and they scanned her on top of her body, they went into 7% survival chance. But we've operated on her to prolong her life, but we don't think she's going to make it. That's what they said to me. So when I saw her, the first thing that I saw was obviously her chest wide open. She was tied to so many different machines. She was, she was on a ventilator, and I could see my husband stroking her head, and he's talking to her, and the doctor said, and you can imagine it's the first time I'm seeing my child. So the doctor said, Mariam, go and speak to her. She'll recognize your voice. So what do you mean? They went, because you were carrying her, she'll probably only recognize your voice. She won't recognize anyone else's. I went, okay. And I thought that concept was quite weird. I remember, you have to understand, I was in my mid-20s and it's my first child, so I didn't understand most of the stuff. So when I went over to my daughter and I just said, hello, I'm your mum, tears started.
Yeah, take your time.
Tears started to roll down her face. And I just felt like such a helpless mum. I didn't know what to do. And all I kept saying to the doctors, I said, you need to save her. And they said, we will try, but we don't think she's going to make it. Even after all of that, I said to my husband then, I said, look, where are we? Are you going to stay? And he just went, no, I'm going to go back to Dubai. I said, but why? And I said, look, we're going to be okay. I did a U-turn. Can't you see I've done a U-turn? And he went, I can't forgive you. So he went back to Dubai, and I was just left with my daughter to see her go through 7 open heart surgeries all by myself. I had zero support from him. And to be fair, I think maybe my in-laws' hearts have softened. So they used to come and see my daughter until one day my mother-in-law was there and she was stroking my daughter, and she said, it's such a shame you're the product of your mother's sins. And that broke me, and I just went, and that's when I completely thought, I cannot respect you as a person for you to say that to my face while stroking my daughter's head. So in my head, I just thought, even if I was to reconcile with my ex-husband or things used to work out, I just knew in my head I didn't want anything to do with my mother-in-law or father-in-law. But to be fair, when I was in hospital, there was a shift process. During the day, my in-laws would be there. And then during the evening, my mum will come because my daughter needed 24 hours care and I needed a lot of rest, etc. When you're trying to fix a problem, it would lead to another problem. So things like they'll say to me, Mariam, unfortunately, we found a blood clot, and that blood clot is eventually going to hit the brain and it's going to paralyze her. She's going to go through a stroke, so be prepared for that. Or they'll say things like, Mariam, accidentally we've damaged her vocal cord, so now you can't hear her. So there's always been one problem after another. So when she was 10 months old, she had problems with her lungs, so she couldn't breathe properly. She couldn't make normal baby noise because it damaged her vocal cord. And I knew there's a clot inside of her, and it was a matter of time. We didn't know how quickly or how soon the clot would travel to her brain for her to suffer from a stroke. So at 10 months, they said, Mariam, if you're going to fight, and I'm one of those mothers, and I'm fighter as my character. I'm a general fighter. So what would happen is I would research so much about her condition. I would reach out to doctors around the world about her condition, and I would fight with my consultants in the UK, and I would say, have you tried this? Why haven't you tried that? Why isn't she going through this, etc. To the point where my original consultant forgot that I'm not a doctor, I'm not a medic, and he thought I was a medic. So at 10 months, he approached me and he said, Mariam, you can't fight us anymore. You know, if you fight us, we're going to take you to the high courts now, because we've got a right to kind of like, it was a balance of quality of life versus putting someone through so much operation. So they basically said, this is the best you're going to get. You need to take her home and you need to just enjoy her now. And throughout the whole process, I was receiving counselling from Great Ormond Street Hospital, and I'm very, very grateful for all the support that they've provided. So when I took her home, or before I could take her home, it was the conversation of, where does my daughter go? So my parents were like, well, you know, you guys your son wanted to divorce my daughter, so my grandchild is going to come to our house. And my ex-husband decided to have a change of heart, and he went, no, that's my wife and child. She's coming to our house. So eventually I just went, look, all I need is support. You know, my daughter's going to pass away. My daughter used to always have 2 to 3 nurses day in, day out. I need support. So my ex-husband said, Mariam, my mum would give up her job. And that's the thing that I didn't mention at the start, that my mother-in-law wanted me to give up my job, but she didn't want to give up her job. But anyway, we digress. So he said, Mariam, my mum will give up her job to support you. So I went, okay, fine, I'll go to your house. So when I went there with my daughter, I remember, you know, my daughter had loads of machines and stuff. So our bedroom had to turn into a mini hospital, if I could explain it like that. And I said, look, I'm going to go to sleep, but everyone's going to be here tomorrow, right? And this is me talking to my mother-in-law, father-in-law, brother-in-law, sister-in-law. You know, there's 13 other people. No, now it was 12 other people in the house. So I thought, yeah, you know what? This is the best environment for me and my daughter. I've got support. There's 12 of them. At least 2 of them or 1 of them will be around. I remember I woke up to the machine noise. Basically, my daughter was running out of oxygen, and I screamed for help. No one was home. No one was home. Everyone either have gone to uni, have gone to work, or just went home. And I didn't know what to do. And I broke down, and I called my mum and I said, can you come and help me? I don't know what to do. So then I called Great Ormond Street and I said, look, my daughter's oxygen levels are low. She's deteriorating. What do I do? They obviously sent, it's called the palliative care team. So it's like the end of life team. They sent the end of life team and they said, no, she's still got some time. She's deteriorating slowly, but you're going to be okay. I went, okay. So you can imagine now I'm with a sick child at home. No one is around. And I'm in a position where I can't complain because I'm just too focused on my child. I can't, if in terms of fighting, I can fight for my child, but I couldn't fight. I just didn't have the energy to fight with my mother-in-law, father-in-law, brother-in-law, etc. So when they came home in the afternoon from their, you know, work, they thought it was fine. That they thought it was okay for them to leave me and my daughter behind all alone when she's got so many medical needs. And all I said was, your son promised me that I'll have some support. What happened? And then they just went, tough, deal with it. You know, your mum's here, deal with it. And I just went, okay. I just thought, okay, they're still upset with me. They're still bitter. They're taking it out on me via my daughter. I went, okay, fine. So then the next couple of months went fine. And then, because my daughter was born in December, one of the things that the consultant said was, we don't think she's going to die of a heart issue. We think she's going to die of a lung issue. And I asked why, and they said, because your daughter has the heart to lung connection and not heart to body connection, your daughter struggles with clearing. I mean, we all produce phlegm, so when there's a bacterial infection, your daughter struggles with clearing the mucus, the phlegm. So we think eventually it will block her lungs and she'll pass away. And like I said, I've been constantly going through therapy, so I'm mentally prepared for myself. So as she was turning 1, a week before her turning 1, And also, just to add, Mohammed, the doctor said, we think when they sent me home, they said, we think she's going to pass away within a week, but she survived for a further 2 months. So as her birthday was approaching, my ex-husband said, look, I want to throw a massive party for our daughter. And I went, no way. And this is when we really had a massive fight. And he said, why? And I said, our daughter has got a very weak immune system. And I said, you're not around. I'm not throwing it in your face that you're not around. You've clearly chosen your career over your wife and your child. I don't even understand why I'm in your house, but here I am. I said, the consultant has said she will pass away of an infection. If she can get through December, the winter months, then maybe she's got chances to survive a bit longer. He just turned around and said, that's classic coming from you when you originally wanted to kill her. And I just thought, my mind went blank, and I just thought, I can't be asked to fight with you, do whatever you want. So what happened was, he came from Dubai a week before her birthday, or a couple of days, not even a week, a couple of days before her birthday. As he walked through the door, I saw a face mask on. This is pre-COVID time, so I mean, now everyone wears masks, etc. But this was, for me, was like, what's going on with you? Why are you wearing a mask? Then he went, I'm not feeling very well. And I went, okay, you stay away from my daughter. And I did use the word my daughter. I did say that. And then he went, what? That's not your child, that's my child. And then he went, I'm just facilitating you for milk. And that's when the penny dropped. I went, oh, you never want to work on the marriage. You just want your child, and you're facilitating me for milk. And that's when I realized what was really going on, because I was just so focused on keeping my daughter alive. My daughter, alhamdulillah, she was very, very smart and intelligent, even though she was mentally behind, because she didn't meet the mental milestones. But when she saw her dad, even though she saw her dad 5 times in that 365 day, 306, she was alive for 366. She saw him 5 weeks out of the 366 days. She saw him, and she was just, she was jumping at him to hold her. So the moment he held her, she pulled the mask off, and I knew that was it, game over. He passed on something to her. So then I was arguing with him, and I said, why did you hold her? I told you to stay away from her. And I think now you passed on something to her. And then he kept saying, you're mental, you need help, you wanted to kill her. He was just saying stuff to hurt me. She deteriorated on her birthday. She passed away the following day. And then we buried her the following day. And all I said was, didn't I tell you that you were going to kill her? And he didn't know what to say to me. And what really put a nail in the coffin is, I've just buried my daughter. It hasn't even been an hour, and I get a call from the bank. And my bank goes, hi, Mariam, just to let you know, the joint account has been wiped clean. I said, what do you mean? They said, yeah, your husband has just withdrew all the money and he's transferred it into his account. And that's when I went, okay. You've just buried your child and you've just wiped our joint savings account, and it was my money, because all of his money is in Dubai. So I just went downstairs, and for me, it was just, I don't know, I just went into attack mode, and I just went downstairs in front of everybody, and I said, did you empty our joint account? And he just kept saying, we'll talk about it upstairs. And I went, no, did you empty our joint account? And this is a house full of loads of guests giving their condolences. And then he went, I'll speak to you upstairs. So when he came upstairs, I went, did you? And he went, yeah. I went, why? And then he went, that's mine. Fight for it in court. And that's when I knew. I went, okay, this person mentally, emotionally, I was not his wife based on that small mistake that I made, even though I did a U-turn. And throughout my daughter's life, he was using me for milk to keep her alive. Fine. And now that she's gone, for him, it was just a business transaction. He goes, I want to wipe you out and take whatever I can from you. So for me, it was the end, and I went, right, I'm leaving. So I literally took all my belongings. I took all of my daughter's belongings as memories, and I just left, and I came to my parents' house, and I said to him, see you in court. So like I said, there's a combination of factors. It was a build-up of so many things that led my marriage to break down.
إلى جنات عدن يا صديقا
I mean,
وجارا من
it's one of those times where you're speechless. Obviously, I'm very sorry to hear about what's happened. How old were you when you got married?
25,
And how old were you when you got divorced?
27.
When do you feel ready to look for marriage again?
I took a couple of years out because I needed to heal emotionally. So I knew that I needed bereavement counselling, and based on what I saw, with my daughter's chest open and stuff. So I had PTSD, if I'm really honest. So I needed some time. So it took me 2 years for me to become stronger or accept it. So I was in denial for 2 years. So by the age of 29, I was ready to start my search again.
And what's your marriage search been like as a divorcee?
Horrendous. One word, horrendous. So obviously, when I got married to my husband, it was a love marriage. So I knew him, and it was an organic. It was a friend of a friend. So it was very organic. And when you're divorced, and it was a situation where all your other friends have married, and they're married with their children. So now you're not at uni, you're not at a workplace where you can meet someone. So I had to naturally use the app, and it was very, very interesting. I'm a very honest person. I just thought, I'm going to put my real age, who I am, what I've been through, etc. On the app, I found I found men who were married, claiming to be single, and then their wives will find out and then call me and say, how do you know so-and-so? And I'll be like, I'm getting to know him for the intentions of marriage. And they went, what? I'm his wife and we have 2 kids. So there's a lot of, I've experienced a lot of deception on the app.
Would you say the fact that you're divorced and you've described your search as a divorcee as horrendous, do you think the two are connected?
Yeah. So, for example, I first put down single, and I didn't put my marital status as divorced. And men took me quite well, and they were like, "Oh, they really wanted to get to know me." And the moment I went, "Oh, by the way, I'm divorced," there was some sort of, I don't know, stigma attached to the fact that I'm divorced. And I think for them, they think, or they're maybe worried that, I think, or maybe they see me as damaged goods or used goods, or maybe, I don't know, I can't put my finger on it, but it was, oh, you're divorced. And they all, and eventually I did get it out with one of the guys, and I went, why does it bother you that I'm divorced? And he went, well, there's so many more plenty fishes in the sea, so I think I can bag a single person that's never married. And I went, but you're divorced. And then he went, yeah, but I think I can try and find someone never married. Why would a divorcee go for another divorcee? And I was quite shocked. I was like, oh my God. So for whatever reason, I don't know why I just found it really hard getting to know someone because I'm divorced. It was just so much stigma attached to it.
When you're looking for marriage as a divorced person, how often do you have to share your experience of what you've gone through in your past, i.e. your previous marriage? Is that something you do every time you get to know someone, or how does it work?
So I never ever found a sweet spot. So what I first tried to do was not tell them that I'm divorced straight away, and eventually tell them. And then it was a case of, well, you've told me this a week or 2 in our conversation. I don't trust you anymore. I'm now wondering, what else are you withholding? And I would literally tell them my whole story, and I'll say, there's nothing more to this. This is it. And I went, no, sorry. I just don't trust you anymore. So I've tried telling someone basic information and then going deep. It just didn't work. And then I thought, okay, you know what? Let me just tell someone straight away. Someone, the moment I match, I'll be like, hey, by the way, I'm divorced. And they'll be like, okay, what's your story? So I'll tell them my story. And then they'll just process me as, oh my God, she's been through so much. She's such a broken woman. I bet she's got mental health issues. So it's a case of, if I tell someone slowly, oh no, why are you being so slow? I'm now wondering, what else are you hiding from me? And if I tell someone quickly, they quickly assume that I'm a broken person, or I'm popping depression tablets, or whatever. It's basically, I'm damned if I do and I'm damned if I don't. It's so emotionally exhausting for me to open up to a stranger. I know I have to do it. And every single time I do it, it's so emotionally exhausting. So I do get upset when I'm like, oh my God, another rejection.
Okay, you know when one is looking for marriage, right? There's two types of people. First is a single, never been married person looking for marriage, and the second one is somebody who's divorced. In your opinion, do you think both are on a level playing field when looking for marriage, or do you think one has an edge over the other?
I think from a woman's perspective, if she was single, never married, for whatever reason, the opposite gender holds that person higher compared to a divorced person.
And why do you say that?
I don't know. I think they genuinely see you as, even though for me, like, for example, there are so many divorced women out there with children. I don't have children. So for me, I feel like I don't have baggage. But even though I don't have a child, they think that I'm bringing a lot of baggage or I'll bring a lot of baggage into the relationship. When actually that's not the case. I won't call it baggage. I'll call it experience. I'll call it, these experiences led to my maturity. But for whatever reason, the opposite gender doesn't process it like that. They just see it as, oh my God, there's so much baggage and I don't know if I can handle the baggage. So I'd rather go for someone who hasn't got this baggage, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. In summary, do you have any experience that you can share in your marriage process in the last 7-8 years? Just a quick one.
I've got loads. I've had, I've already given you one where people claim to be single but actually married. I've had situations where I tell them, just to give you some context, in order for me to kind of heal, what I did was I kind of threw myself at work. So I've done really well in my career. So when I speak to people of my age group, so either a year or two younger than me, or maximum 5 years, or even 6 years older than me, and they realize the way I carry myself, or they realize what I do for a living, they can't deal with someone who's emotionally strong, someone who's financially strong, someone who's mentally strong. For whatever reason, I feel like they're not mature enough to handle me. And I think I accidentally somehow emasculate them. So they then feel, well, it's not a good match. And they actually tell me, I'm looking for someone a bit less strong. So I'll ask them, I go, what do you mean? And they'll just say, yeah, you're quite opinionated. You're very vocal. I need someone. It's almost they need a woman that they can, I wouldn't say control, but they can mold. And he actually did use those words. He goes, you're unmoldable. You're set in your ways. So I need someone a bit weaker than you. On the other side of the spectrum, I've had guys who see me as, an opportunity. So, they would talk to me, they will invest their time in me, etc. And I'm one of those people where if you do go out, I know some women are like, no, the man should pay, but I'm all about going Dutch, or I'll get this one, you can get the next one. I'm a bit like that. A guy would see me as an opportunity in the sense that he will eventually say, oh, you know what, Mariam, I'm struggling, or something's come up. We've been getting to know each other for a couple of months now. Can you lend me some money? That's another aspect. And the other situation is where I'm meeting people of my age group who've had children and they're divorced. And obviously the divorce process must have been really hard on them, where they've lost half of their wealth to their first wife. So they're in a situation where, they've lost their wealth. So obviously they feel they're weaker than me. And I've always tried to reassure them, like, money comes and go, it doesn't really matter. But then they'll say things like, yeah, but I've had my children, so I don't want any more children. Do you want children? And I'll be like, of course I do. And then I'll be like, no, I'm sorry, I don't want children. I'm already paying child maintenance. I can't afford another child. So these are the things that I'm experiencing. And like I said, a lot of deception. I've had people lie about their age. I've had people lie about their location. I was speaking to a person who was actually in prison. There's just so many. I mean, I can go on. There's so many examples, but to summarize, there's a lot of deception, and yeah, that's why I am where I am.
Do you feel being divorced has impacted your search for marriage?
I think, a lot of men consider me, it's only after they get to know me, they went, oh, they think divorced women are emotionally vulnerable. The amount of guys who have tried to speak to me inappropriately as well, thinking, oh, she's divorced, she's gonna be an easy target, and then I'm like, So I think I think they see divorced women as emotionally vulnerable, and it has affected my search, definitely. Or they think they can tell me whatever they want to tell me, and I'll be none the wiser. But so yeah, it has definitely impacted my search.
There's no doubt that generally speaking, Muslims are finding it difficult to get married. Why do you think that that's the case?
Just before I answer that question, actually, Mo, there was one, I want to actually highlight this as well, and it's kind of happened to me 3 times actually, where the guy's divorced and I'm divorced. He has no children, and I don't have obviously children, and it's become so serious where families are involved. So the moment he tells his family, by the way, I met this divorced person, etc. She's lovely. And this is what she looks like, and this is what she does, etc. Even the parents end up saying to their son, "No, carry on looking. Why can't you find anyone else? Why did you find a divorced woman for?" Even families are influencing their sons to go back on their search. So that's one thing that I want to highlight. That sometimes I think there's something happening in the background, because it's happened to me 3 times now, where the guy turned around and said, "Hey, I'm so sorry, I can't take this forward anymore." And I'll be like, "Why? What's happened?" And it's like, and he wouldn't say it straight away, but I'll really squeeze his throat, and then he would just turn around and say, "All right, fine. The truth is, my parents are saying I could do better." I'm like, "What do you mean you could do better?" And then he would say, "They want me to find someone never married, single." And then I'd say, "Why?" And it's like the battle. It's like he would say, "Because my family want to show my ex-family that I've managed to bag another single non-divorcee woman." It's like they're showing society that even if you're a divorced man, I don't know. It was like, they'd want to show off to their exes, like, "Look, I did better," if that makes sense. First of all, I find that the opposite gender thinks they know what they're looking for, or has an idea of what they're looking for, but they really don't. So they're just going through the process, and that's why it's moving from one woman to the next. When it comes down to it, they realize that they're not emotionally ready, or emotionally, I don't know, as in they want to get married, but then the idea, they get cold feet, I think. Back in the olden days, it's like, you've got a handful of proposals coming through, and you just got to take your pick. In this day and age, it's not a handful. You've got the whole world at your fingertip on your phone. So they're always thinking the next one might be better, the next one might be better. So too many options as well, I think.
What advice would you give to divorced Muslims who are looking for marriage today?
Be sincere in your search. Have a clear idea of what you're looking for. Don't waste anyone's time, because time can never be brought back. You can't get time back. So I don't want anyone to go through the motions. I want someone to have a clear idea of what they're looking for and just go get it. I would also say finding a partner is like buying a house. You can buy, it depends on what comes on the market. You can find something that looks nice or fits or ticks all your boxes, but there'll always be another house that will always be better than the house that you want. But I would say if you found something and you've got a connection, stick to it. Don't think there's someone better out there.
وتنزل رحمة الغفار غيثا به تمحى المعاصي.
So the next segment of this episode is called the rapid fire round. The rule of the rapid fire round is that you gotta answer the question within 3 seconds. So whatever comes to mind first. You ready for the rapid fire round?
Go for it.
Tall guy or extra large guy?
Tall.
Rich guy who you don't find attractive or poor guy who you find very attractive?
Poor guy.
Living with in-laws or living independently?
Living independently, but don't mind living with in-laws if they're nice people.
Looks or character?
Character.
A very wealthy guy with mediocre level of deen or financially average guy with amazing deen?
Financial average guy with amazing deen.
Educated guy or very successful guy?
Educated.
One thing that you really want but you would compromise on for the right person?
House, as in living independently, but I'll compromise for the right person.
One regret in life?
Making that bad move that kind of destroyed my marriage.
Biggest achievement to date?
Being able to go through what I've been through and then dust myself off and reestablish myself.
And biggest dream?
To be married, to have children running around, making lots of gaga goo-gooing and just being content with what I have with my husband.
And our final segment is the divorced Muslims profile time. So we're going to do a little mini profile for yourself in terms of what you're looking for. So literally one word answers on the first few. So what's your age?
38.
Height?
5'3".
Location?
London.
Ethnicity?
Bangladeshi.
Occupation?
Investment banker.
And let's do it from the other side, what you're looking for. So the age range of what you're looking for?
Anyone aged between 36 all the way up to 45.
Height preference?
Someone just taller than me.
Location preference?
Someone preferably within M25 London.
Ethnicity preference?
No preference at all.
And occupation preference?
No preference at all.
If you fit the criteria of the guest today, and if you are interested in considering the guest for marriage, then please email us the following details: your name, age, location, height, occupation, ethnicity, marital status, family contact name and details. Our email address is divorcedmuslims@gmail.com. Remember the golden rule: only family details will be exchanged. If we have no family details, then the request will be ignored. Okay, well, Sister Mariam, thank you very much for joining the show and taking part in this episode. Any final words from you?
No, just thank you so much for having me. I just wish you all the best on your podcast.
Thank you very much. We say assalamu alaikum to you.
Wa alaikum salam.
Season 1 of this podcast is sponsored by Muslim Marriage Services, also known as MMS. If you are looking for marriage, then join MMS, your trusted platform for finding a life partner within the Muslim community. What makes MMS unique? They are not just a matrimony platform. They are proud to be recognized as the world's only certified social enterprise Muslim matrimonial brand. This means that 50% of their profits are reinvested or donated to make a positive social impact. As you explore their features focused on digital security and compatibility, know that your journey with MMS contributes to something beyond matrimony. For further details, please visit www.muslimmarriage.global.